Hello everyone, welcome back to the Opulent Life. This is Ozzy here again with an unboxing and review of another watch for you guys. So here it is in this black cardboard box. Today I will be doing not just an unboxing but a full spec review with a little bit of a twist. So I've started to add a scoring procedure for all of these watches, and you'll get to know that very soon today. So let's get right into it. So we have this black cardboard box. Underneath this we have a watch by the brand Raymond Weil from Geneva, Swiss-made brand, not a micro brand, but not very popular, so I decided to select one of their watches for a review. But before we do that, wristwatch check. We're wearing the Tissot Bridgeport. We have this dark brown colored cardboard box, nothing special, with a bit of a linen pattern. Don't see any other markings. We see the box itself says made in China. It says do not recycle, I believe, or it might say don't actually. Wait a second, it might say don't throw it in the trash, you should recycle. Sorry about that. Okay, what else? So no other markings except for that. So let's go ahead and take this out of the box. Right. So the first thing we're greeted with is this Weil Club membership, free 3-year guarantee card. And it says that if you register the watch, you get a free third-year guarantee. Normally it's 2 years, so they extend you with 1 additional year. Nice. Okay, so underneath that we just have a box that opens up from the front. We have this black paper see-through, and underneath that we have the actual watch box. So let's take this box out, and then this paper actually extends all the way. So let's get this out of the way first. Okay, and yet again, guys, so we have the receipt. Let's put that to the side. So they've given this certificate of authenticity. Might be the warranty card. Okay, so that doesn't look right. So this is actually a guarantee card. It's not actually a guarantee card, it's a certificate of authenticity for diamonds. When did that happen? I did not buy a diamond watch, as you guys will see very soon, and this is not even the correct reference number. This is the wrong reference number for this watch. This might be for a Raymond Weil watch that has diamonds in it, so they usually give a certificate of authenticity that the diamonds are the right weight, what color and clarity they are, but for some reason it might have slipped away into my package. So again, guys, be very careful when you buy things from department stores. I don't know what they do in the back room. Make sure when they give you the box, just unwrap it yourself and see if you have all the right items. I'm just going to put this to the side, and we have the wrong user manual because this is not a quartz watch. You guys know I usually review automatic watches with some exceptions, but this is for a user manual for a quartz watch, and mine's an automatic, so bummer there again. Okay, and the rest of the box has some styrofoam inserts and nothing else particularly special, so let's move that all out of the way. So here's the actual watch box. Let's just look at it real quick. It says the Raymond Weil Genève in silver, not embossed, just printed. On the side here it says copyright 2018 Raymond Weil Genève. Just your standard hinge box, dark brown in color, coffee or espresso, I might say would be the accurate term to describe it. It has kind of a vulcanized, I wouldn't say vulcanized, but it has kind of a rubber finish to it. It's not your typical cardboard box feeling. It feels very like it's been coated with a layer of rubber. It's not a leather box. Well, feels okay, feels good, not bad, decent quality. Let's open this up, and okay, here we go. We have a watch roll box inside of a watch box, and over here it says Raymond Weil Genève again. Looks like there's some kind of sleeve on top here. I don't know what it holds. There's nothing in there. Then you have this cream colored insert before you have the watch roll box. Let's take out this box, put it to the side. And then this is a leather watch holder. You can open it either side, 2 buttons here, 1 button here. says Raymond Weil Genève embossed inside it. Says it again on the underside. Cream colored insert and watch roll. So here is the watch. Check this out. So this is it, guys. This is the Raymond Weil Maestro Moonphase automatic. Here's a closer look at it, and I got this with the blue alligator slash calf leather deploying strap. You can see it has the Moonphase date complication. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Let's get this off. This watch roll is coming with those new style watch rolls where they're not actually rolls. They have this M-shaped leather foaming, so to allow for these deploying clasps to kind of go inside when you're holding it on there. Let's take this out. Right, comes with the tags and everything. So here it is, guys. Close look. We're gonna go ahead and discuss the watch in detail, all the way from case to the strap to the movement, and discuss its performance specs, and then we will rate each of these categories and we'll give it an opulence score at the end. So let's get started. Right now it's stopped, so let's give it a quick wind so you can see it in action while it's working. Now it's very smooth for winding, I believe. Let's give it a quick shakedown. And there you go, starts working. So the watch is functional, very good. All right, so starting with the dial, you'll notice that it looks almost white, but it's actually a silver dial with a lot of guilloche in there. Most notably in the center, you see this wave-like pattern emanating out from the central hour and minute hands. At the 6 o'clock position, you have the Moonphase complication. We'll talk about it in just a bit. But look at the patterning. It's a concentric circle patterning, similar to the one that is around the Roman numerals on the dial itself. The chaptering has a little bit of a track mark, but also has the minute markers right outside the circumference of the Roman numerals. The date window is at the 3 o'clock position, partially cutting into the Roman numeral 3. And so that's the dial. The hands itself are blue. I don't know if you guys can see it from here. I'm gonna move it around, let it play with the light. There you go. So you see the hands are all blued out, the minute, hour, and the seconds hand. And then you can see, let me just give this a dust off. You can see the crystal is sapphire, scratch resistant, flat, no doming. The case of the watch is stainless steel, polished mirrored finish, no changes in finishing. All across it is polished surface only. See a little bit of scratch marks over here. And if I'm looking closely at the Moonphase, looks like the Moonphase has some scratches, but that might just be the light reflection. I'm not sure. We'll take a closer look at it during the course of this video. And you can see the serrations on the crown over here are not very aggressive, but it gives a very nice feel, very easy to wind, very smooth. And with these slippery gloves, I'm able to wind it with ease, which means that if you have dry hands, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Now it says automatic at the 6 o'clock position, where the 6 hour marker and the 5 and partially the 7 are being cut out because of the Moonphase complication. If you look closely, it says swissmade at the bottom as well, right on top of the chapter ring. The bezel is stainless steel, fixed, coin-edged style dial, pure dress watch style. It doesn't look like a watch that you can wear on a casual occasion, although these days everything works, but this watch does not look like the one that you could wear to a casual hangout, in my opinion. The case is 40 millimeters in diameter according to the specs, but we are going to check it ourselves using our electronic calipers here. Go ahead and measure them ourselves. Here we go. We're going to measure the widest point, excluding the crown. See what reading we get. First, I have to convert this to inches, and you can buy this from Amazon for about a couple of dollars. I got this for like $4, so shouldn't be too hard to purchase if you want to, if you are a watch reviewer. All right, let's go ahead, see. Okay, so that looks like a good point for measurement. Yeah. And we see it's 38.9 millimeters, so it's exactly almost 40 millimeters, so the measurements are correct from the spec sheet. Let's check the lug width, see what we can get. Okay, 24.6 millimeters lug width. Yep. Let's see if the strap matches up. 20 millimeters for the strap. Let's measure this case thickness. 10.2 millimeters. Let's do the most important measurement, which is the lug to lug, which actually dictates your variability of the watch on the wrist. Let's see what we are getting here. And we are getting, excuse me, getting used to these calipers. I want to be as accurate as possible. So we're getting approximately 44.1 millimeters lug width. So it should be a comfortable fit for most wrists. It's a very easy and universal size. 40 millimeters. Lugs are not too protruding. That's why the lug width is not very, very high. You can have a watch that's 42 millimeters, but the lugs are protruding so much that it can extend all the way to 50 millimeters even. So be careful of that. But this looks like a very variable size. It falls into the bracket of being unisex and in the men's category. So if you can go either way, I guess. Let's talk about the Moonphase complication. As you can see, it's a pretty standard, simple Moonphase application. On the dial, they've just applied a circle with a polished mirrored finish as the moon, and there's some stars on the sides set on a dark blue background. There is no sun in this, it's only the moon, so you only get to see either the stars or the moon phase. Now, personally speaking, that's not something very interesting for me. I'd like to see a moon with some kind of patterning, either a face on the moon or some face on the sun if it's present, and a little bit more detail on the moon phase would have been appreciated. Just, you know, putting this basic polished circle on there with some star pattern, not interesting enough for me. People may like it, but that's just my take. If you're gonna put a moon phase, have some sense of art. Please add some detail, because it's supposed to be a romantic gesture. It's supposed to signify art, modernity, and I'm not seeing any of that in here. The rest of the dial is pretty good, but the moon phase is really killing it in my opinion. Again, you guys may have a different opinion on that matter. Okay, what else do we have on the dial here? So we covered pretty much everything. The date window on 3 o'clock, pretty standard date window set on a white background. Does have a nice border to it, if you can see, so it doesn't feel out of place. I do wish, however, that it was moved more closer to the chapter ring, and it should have completely replaced the third Roman numeral. It would have looked more symmetrical and much more fancier in my opinion. I tend to love symmetry on my watches, and this is, I mean, it's pretty symmetrical, but I'm not really fond of date windows cut out like that. The seconds hand seems to be moving very smoothly. So the movement is basically a sellita movement. It's based on the SW200 platform. Specifically speaking, it's the SW280-1 movement with the Moonphase complication and the date. So it has a beat rate of 28,800 VPH, and so it's considered high beat. Power reserve is not, it's kind of underwhelming with only 38 hours, but with this complication, it's understandable. However, I would have liked it to be at least 45 hours plus. In my opinion, that should have been taken into consideration. Now, this is a pure dress watch style, so it's not, as we measured, it's not very, very thick and would fit comfortably under the wrist, under the cuff, I'm sorry. The crown is signed with the Raymond Weil signature. It does have hand winding, as you can see. Let's see if it hacks. look, it does hack, so that's perfect. Hacking and hand winding available. First position of the crown sets the date. If you go ahead, actually let's go ahead and move it to the 6 o'clock position first before we change anything. Actually, let's go this position, make sure it's, yeah, there you go. So that was the date switch. Now let's see if the date is a quick set system or not. Go back to the first position. And there we go, we're at the first position now. Moving it clockwise sets the date, and it is a quick set. Moving it counterclockwise sets the moon phase, as you can see. And you have to be careful. Do not set the moon phase anytime between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. according to the manual. I think, if I'm not mistaken, online that's what I saw. Might be a little bit different on this particular watch, but in general, also with the date mechanism, don't set it anywhere between midnight, night, or late night hours. Try to set it somewhere in the AM time, typically around the 8 and 7 o'clock. That's when you're the safest. So to be specific, between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. is the perfect time. Anywhere between 7:30 or 8 p.m. till 4 or 5 a.m., in this case 6 a.m., is not safe. So be careful of that. You can otherwise break the moon phase and date mechanism. So, right, very easy to apply. This is not a screw down crown, by the way, and the water resistance on this watch is only 50 meters. Pretty standard for a dress watch like this with a complication and no screw down crown. So acceptable in my opinion. Now let's come to the case back. Look at the case back here. It says sapphire crystal, swissmade, water resistance 50 meters, stainless steel, the reference number, and it says Raymond Weil, Genève, swissmade, 26 joules, caliber RW4280, which is their code name for the sellita movement. So that's on the rotor inside the case back. Nice to have a see-through case back, but however, the movement is not decorated at all. As you can see, except for the rotor itself having some brushing and some writing in blue, it's pretty much devoid of any kind of, real imaginative work. No visible perlage or any other kind of decoration. No glued screws. Wouldn't expect that at this price point, but would like to see some decoration, guys. Very plain. I mean, if you're not going to decorate the case back, what's the point of seeing the case back? Just make it a solid case back instead. But however, I guess that's a selling point these days. You can see the movement wearing away. Strong, solid movement. It's just that, it's not Sellita's fault that our Raymond Weil factory didn't decide to put any kind of decoration on it. They just provide standard movements. Okay, so now let's come to the strap. Navy blue leather strap. It's called croco cuff, so it's basically a crocodile pattern on a cuff strap. So that makes it fairly decent quality. You have some white stitching on the sides here. Same thing over here. Now, thing to notice is that this strap starts out wide, but then it tapers and it becomes really narrow. If you look at it from this angle, you see it becomes really narrow towards the edge where it meets the clasp, which is a deploying clasp. I'm going to demonstrate in a second. Same thing over here, tapering edge to make it more unisex, I think. Not fond of that, doesn't look very good on the wrist, but we'll do a wrist check and see how it looks. So this is the deploying clasp, and here closes on like that. Now let's just set it up. What you do is opens up in this fashion. It says Raymond Weil, Genève. All of it is polished finish, so that's nice. Has a serial number on the underside. That part is not polished, only the top is. There is some signage on the clasp, Raymond Weil's signature. It's a double deploying pusher. Looks solid. Construction isn't bad for the clasp. Let's put this through. So this is how it kind of goes in. You have to make sure it's this position over here. So basically making sure that the polished surface is at the underside, and then you put the strap in, and then you set it to any level that you feel is most comfortable for you. I'm going to make it a little bit tighter for myself. I think this should probably be it. And then you set it up like this. Make sure it's tightened up, and then it closes up like that. So we're going to do a wrist shot very soon. Now another thing to note on the dial, there's no loom, it's pure dress watch dial, so don't expect to see any glow tests over here. And yeah, all right, let's put it on. Put it on my wrist, and I didn't make it super tight, but just to show you guys, this is how thin the strap looks on the wrist, and I am not a fan of that. This does not look very appealing or stylish to me. At least I like thicker straps, or should I say wider straps, not thicker necessarily. But this tapering is just, kind of off-putting. The clasp here feels solid, but it's too thick. I feel that for a dress watch, this should have been thinner, because notice if you have a shirt cuff that's a little bit, tighter or more akin to follow the curvature of your wrist, it's going to get in the way. So that is one thing that I don't like, in addition to it being narrow. Let's do actual wrist shot, see how it looks. There it is. So nice size, you can see 40 millimeter with the lugs, fits nicely on my wrist over here. The dial does look pleasing. It is a very classic style, kind of Cartier style, but yeah, the other part, the part of the strap, it's a bit loose right now. The strap design is just something I'm not liking. If you really like this watch, you could also buy it with the Milanese mesh bracelet that they offer, or you could change out the strap altogether, get a new strap or a new deployant buckle, whatever. But I would highly recommend that if you're interested in this watch, do not go for this strap. It's just not my cup of tea. Or you might like it. You might like thin, or thin, not saying thin, you might like narrower straps, and you might have smaller wrists. In that case, go for it. Mine's a 6.5 inch wrist, and I can go with a wider strap, I must say. Okay, so that's it for the Raymond Weil Maestro Moonphase review. Now it's time for the actual scoring part of the review, and before that I just want to go through some of the good and bad things about this watch that I like, things that I dislike, kind of give you an overall summary of my findings. First of all, the good stuff. Number one, I love that it's got this classic design and this beautiful dial patterning. It's very, very appeasing. It really looks nice when you look at it, and it gives you a smile on your face that you're wearing a very nice dress watch, almost at the caliber of Cartier, or something very sophisticated like a Blancpain or a Patek even. Well, that's a big word to say, but it does give you that vibe. It does look like a Calatrava from some angles, not all angles. It's by no means a Patek, it's by no means a Cartier, but it gives you that style. If you're on a budget, this is the perfect watch for it. Stating which, this goes on retail for about $1,350. Joma shop, you can get it for around $869. At Macy's, I was able to get it around $1,000. So yeah, so definitely a big price gap between this and other dress watches that are of a more expensive caliber, like Breguet, Patek, Calatravas, Vacheron. Nothing of that sort will cost you less than at least $7,000-8,000. And that too is talking, pre-owned and gray market. If you go retail, prices are in the 5 figures. So this at $1,000, $869, it's very, very reasonable compared to that. So for that money, the design being very classic and beautiful with this patterning, that's something that I really like. Next, 40 millimeter being the perfect size. I think it could go a little bit smaller for a dress watch, but I think it's the perfect size to meet everybody's wrist, almost everybody's wrist. So that's another positive. Another positive is I love that they did blue hands on this. They just play with the light so well, and there's actually a patterning on the hands themselves. It's straight line finish, and that's nice. It's very, very cool. The next thing I like is that they've given a see-through case back. It's not necessarily my personal positive. However, a lot of people like having a see-through case back even though there's no decoration, so that can be considered a positive. Another positive is that it has a good Sellita high beat movement. SW280-1 beats at 28,800. This movement is very smooth, so that's a good factor. Now coming to the cons, things I don't like about this watch. First of all, like I mentioned, strap being tapered and thinning off towards the clasp is not something that I like. I think the watch becomes more feminine in this regard, and for my wrist, or especially if you have bigger wrists, it doesn't look very good when you turn the wrist around, and it's not a very pleasing sight to see a very thin and delicate strap going across. I would like to have maintained the same width all across. But that's the first negative, the biggest negative by far, by any means. Next, the next biggest negative for me is that the clasp is very uncomfortable on wearing and on adjustment. It's just not an easy to use mechanism, and it feels very uncomfortable, feels loose. I was struggling to find a good fit using this mechanism here. It's very thick also, so it won't necessarily fit very well inside cuffs like a French cuff. It will cause some trouble in that regard, so that's another negative. Another big negative on the dial is the Moonphase being uninteresting, like I mentioned. I would like to see more artwork on Moonphases, and this is just not an acceptable enough level for me. Last but not the least, power reserve limited to 38 hours is not very good for a luxury watch. I would expect that from a Japanese movement, but from a Swiss-made movement, I think they could have gone a little bit higher in the 40s for the power reserve by some modifications. Style and looks are very nice, but not great, so it gets a 7 out of 10. Materials, construction, and finishing are also average, not the best in terms of Swiss-made, so it gets a 5 out of 10. Performance is also average. Power reserve is not great. It's a pretty standard movement, no in-house workings, no in-house modifications, so it gets a 5 out of 10. Price and value is okay for this range. $869 on gray market is okay, but the retail price of $1,350, you can find much better watches in this range still with Swiss-made logos, so the price value gets a 6 out of 10. Versatility, this is a pure dress watch, so you can't really be seen wearing this in shorts and pajamas or in casual situations. Pretty formal settings like the office or a party are really where it's at its best, so it's not the most versatile, and in that case it gets a 5 out of 10. Wow factor, it's although it's a nice classic design, it is not necessarily going to turn many heads when people look at it. It's a pretty standard looking dress watch, so the wow factor is not very high, not a very well-known brand, so it gets a 4 out of 10, giving it a total opulence score of 32 out of 50, and that places it in category D of watches. Hey, hope you guys liked this review. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss any more content, and hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy your Christmas, stay safe, and take care. Bye-bye.